I don't think anyone needs to say just how much of an inspiration a game like Yume Nikki brought to the world of RPGs and indie games as a whole. A game made in complete mystery aside from it being shared on 2chan where it first released. Developed by Kikiyama, someone we don't even know the gender, age, if it's one person or if they're even alive. I'm sure they had no idea how popular this game is. Countless fan games would be made in Yume Nikki, and some even came close to Yume Nikki's likeness, like .flow and Yume Tuki. But if you think about it, all of them have the same ending one way or another. The story of a hikikomori who never tries to leave their house and instead spends their last days in a dream. While some games explain it as there was no escape, like Sabitsuki having a deadly illness and was forced to quarantine, many choose to follow that bleak ending. And I always think there's room for hope in hikikomori. If they just had someone knock on their door insistently, maybe things would be different. Today, the game was found. Omori is a game I've received a lot of requests from for a while now, especially because I'm one of the few channels who talks about indie RPGs like this. Omocat is an artist known for their incredible clothing designs and have collaborated with several well-known companies like Krypton Future Media, Coca-Cola, Fangamer, and a hentai website called Faku. Though I remember her from my early days of Tumblr as a webcomic artist. She used to do this really adorable webcomic called Pretty Boy that had a stupid amount of reblogs and likes because it was just so damn adorable. It was basically a stereotypical jock falling in love with a pretty soft boy he saved from bullies, and it's romantic hijinks until they get married. The end. However, unknown to me, her biggest fame piece on Tumblr was a blog called Omori Boy. It was a blog about a character named Omori, a pun on hikikomori, who stayed in his safe space all day looking at porn or lay depressed all day. I do vaguely remember seeing pictures of Omori depressed from people I followed at the time who would vent out their own depression using the blog and quotes from it. To be honest, even I have to wonder if the blog itself was some form of vague vent piece. Even if it was probably just breadcrumbs for what Omocat really wanted to do. In 2013, Omocat would attempt at making this Omori story into a comic series, but it was quickly cancelled once Omocat was able to tell the story the way she wanted to. According to others, she believed the true vision for this story was for a game in the style of Earthbound and Yume Nikki. This blog and comic ended up being so successful that in 2014, a Kickstarter was made in order to make this game a reality. The goal was $22,000 and ended up being well over $200,000 by the end of its goal. That is a huge amount of support for this game. Obviously, she wouldn't be working on this solo. Pedro Silva and Jamie Carnigan would compose the music together for the game. The two of them did an incredible job. I normally don't talk about music in a game unless it's Undertale or a Square Enix game, but these two did a fantastic job here. Arkea would also be the lead programmer as far as I can tell from the Kickstarter page, and this dude named Gino who helps around in general. Now, it was the Kickstarter when I first heard about this game, according to Tumblr Mobile at the time, which I don't know how accurate it is, but it was #1 on trending on the app for weeks. Safe to say, I was very invested in this game, specifically in the art style, as it had this unique pencil-like texture to it the way Off did. Now, around 2018, I think, I did hear people saying something about Omori being cancelled due to issues, but it turns out that it was just a lot of confused people because the Omori Boy blog was deleted in 2018. It's never been explained why the blog was deleted unless it was said on the Kickstarter, but I believe it's because Omori Boy and Omori the game are completely different. Omori Boy the blog was a hentai addict with severe depression, heavily bullied in school, and only imagines having friends. It doesn't help that as far as the archive is telling me, the last post was in 2012, so there wasn't a need to keep the blog up anymore since everything changed. Though due to my confusion, I thought this meant the game was cancelled, though little did I know a demo would release that same year. There was a lot of cut content from the game, from being able to select your gender, cut characters, name changes, an entirely different storyline, cut cutscenes, a cut 3DS port, and a cut PS Vita port. Though the cut 3DS and PS Vita port were cancelled due to the lifespan of the 3DS and PS Vita officially being cancelled during development of this game. So instead they're going to use the stretch goal money for those two ports to make a Nintendo Switch port later this year instead. It's not really said what made Omori take so long. I'm sure it's the obvious reason this game is literally made by a tiny team and all assets were handmade by the director. There were also live streams that probably explained development further, but those have since been deleted, to my knowledge, as they were for backers only. Though shocking to many who could not financially support the game, Omori would release December 25th, 2020 to overwhelming positive reviews. I know I'm pretty late on the bandwagon to this Omori video, but this game genuinely handles very serious topics, and some of which are very personal to me that it didn't quite feel right making a video so lighthearted and filled with a bunch of silly jokes here and there. This game talks about severe depression, drowning, death, and self-harm. Personal to me are topics of nyctophobia, arachnophobia, anxiety, and panic attacks, though I think everyone can relate right now to a story about someone socially isolated learning to open up again. If you are emotionally triggered by any of these topics I just mentioned, please do not watch this video past this point. Even though the game does warn you shouldn't play it if you can't handle the listed discussions the game tackles, I just want to reiterate it because the last thing I want is to recommend a game that could cause an emotional trigger for someone. I'm also going to be talking about heavy spoilers for the game too, so if you haven't seen or played Omori yet, this is not going to be a spoiler-free review. So, let's start with the story. The story is about a boy named Omori who lives in a white space. Much like the comic, it's his safe space. It's empty and lonely, but to Omori, it's a place where nothing can hurt him. Sometimes the door will open, and there he played with his friends Aubrey, Kel, Hiro, Basil, and his sister, Mari. The six of them are all really close and do just about nothing but play and laugh all day with fun adventures. Everything is fine. You almost start to feel like this is where it's going to be a pure and wholesome game inspired by the Mother series rather than a game about a hikikomori. Yet things start to feel quickly weird, like something isn't right. Sure, there was that creepy thing with Basil, but what if this is just the Gygus of this game? It can't be that bad, right? Omori wakes up in this white space again. The door is gone and there's nowhere to go. Oh, you think this is gonna be like Yume Nikki, where Modotsuki just pinches her cheek to wake up. Instead, Omori stabs himself to wake up, implying that our character likely has severe thoughts of self-harm. Then the boy we know right now as Omori wakes up, and this is where the real game begins. The boy in the real world's name is Sunny, but you can choose whatever name he has. He wakes up hungry, so you decide to head downstairs to get something to eat. Sunny's mom left some steak in the fridge for him to heat up. Not so bad, right? Well, Sunny has a fear of heights. As he walks down the stairs to get something to eat, the stairs feel unending. As someone in particular with a fear of heights and staircases myself, that hit a little too hard. You start to feel something behind you, like something is going to make you fall down those damn stairs, but a voice tells you to calm down. Sunny takes a deep breath and slowly tackles his fear of the day: heights and stairs. When he goes back to sleep, we find that Basil is missing. Aubrey, Kel, Hiro, and Omori all go venture off to find their missing friend, while Mari cheers you on and tells Omori that he can do it. Omori conquered his fear of heights in the real world, so now he can do it in the dream world. We venture up into space where we meet Space Boyfriend, who isn't feeling well. We're told by his space pirate crewmates that he misses his girlfriend, so he decided to hear a special mixtape to cheer her up. Only problem is, his mixtape was thrown away, so the four of them venture through space garbage to fight the greatest enemy known to man. A Windows 10 update. After finally finding his mixtape, they return it to him only to find out that Space Boyfriend broke up with his girlfriend and he's really upset about it. So you're going to have to fight Space ex-boyfriend. I will say this game genuinely has a lot of really funny moments in the dream world. The dialogue is that classic new RPG silly humor, but I love it here. As an example, there's a pretty funny moment where if you have Kel throw a ball at a scarecrow, he'll start ranting about where his life went wrong. Yet your adventures in space come to an end after you find a mysterious key that opens up to a game of Hangman. Things start to go funky again, and Omori stabs himself to wake up. He wakes up and answers the door only to see it's Kel, except he's way taller. But he still has that cheerful smile on his face. You find out that Kel has been calling Sunny for weeks to try and get a hold of him to say goodbye. There are actually two paths right here at this door. If you answer the door, you proceed to go towards the true end, and if you don't, you can go the full Hikikomori route and experience pure dot flow angst energy for the rest of the game. The Hikikomori route is also not recommended for casual players, by the way. It's a lot harder than the true route. He asks if you want to hang out for old time's sake, so Sunny agrees, and they go on a little adventure. I love how lively this town feels. This honestly feels like one of the best portrayals of a small town I've seen in a video game. Speaking from personal experience as someone who's lived in small towns before. Sunny and Kel go buy a book for Hiro, who's coming back from college tomorrow, but they decide to stop by the park afterwards. At the park we see Basil, who seems a lot more shy and almost unstable around others. A girl with pink hair is bullying him, and it turns out it's Aubrey. Yeah, so when Sunny shut himself away for 4 years, Aubrey completely changed. Their friend group fell apart, and we find out that Aubrey's father left home a while ago, so it turned Aubrey into a bitter teenager just wanting to pick on people to make herself feel better. You do fight her, except Sunny brought a knife with him. Unlike in other RPGs, which would have you play this exactly like any other fight, there's a sense of realism to it. Sunny uses a fight on Aubrey and it stops the fight immediately. You literally sliced her arm and it shocks everyone. Aubrey storms off with her new friends, leaving where Basil thanks them and tells Sunny and Kel that Aubrey has been bullying him for some time and even stole his photo album. After taking Basil home, who seems like a complete nervous wreck desperately needing help, Sunny decides to confront Aubrey about it. Sunny confronts her in the church, where we're told that Mari died 4 years ago. Her death completely tore everyone apart. She was really sweet and was kind of the glue that brought everyone together in the first place. After fighting Aubrey again, Sunny and Kel lose, where Aubrey storms off to go home. Sunny and Kel were at least able to get Basil's photo album back from the dumpster after we see Aubrey throw it away. We give it back to Basil and look at the happy memories, except a ton of photos are missing. What I really like here is that a lot of these photos are ones we see in the dream world, showing just how much Sunny treasures these memories too. Basil decides to give Sunny the photo album, saying he needs it more than he does, but at dinner, Kel tells Basil that Sunny is moving in 3 days, and Basil completely freaks out and runs to the bathroom. We do follow him, but as it turns out, Basil has the exact same something Sunny does. Terrified and unsure what to do, Sunny leaves the room, which flares up his anxiety. When Sunny comes back home, his anxiety flares up so much that his fear of spiders is kicking in. I'm not sure what could have caused this fear of spiders to spike up, but maybe he saw a spider in a bush walking home or something. To be honest, sometimes anxieties and fears spike up for no reason. This part of the game genuinely did reach to me, not gonna lie. I have a really bad case of arachnophobia, and the way it manifests here is genuinely the best way I can describe my fear to anyone who asks. Hell, along with being in the dark and going up the staircase, this scene legit had me afraid. All 3 of those things I'm genuinely afraid of, and to have all that happening at once, and this something comes up to you, shit, even I wouldn't be able to calm down if that were me. As you're trying to calm Sunny down, a voice tells him that he needs to focus. Sunny takes in a deep breath and focuses on just getting up the staircase. He heads to bed where the dream continues. Pretty much, this entire scene contained me, and I already give it a 10 out of 10 for that. Next, the gang journeys to the Sprout Village where their favorite princess, Sweetheart, is performing a show there. The gang go to see, but after some shenanigans, end up in prison where they end up escaping by going through the palace looking for an escape. I will admit, this is one of the funniest parts of the game. There's a lot of really sweet character designs and writing here that just make me have a big smile on my face. I also love that Sweetheart's laugh is a reference to Kefka's laugh from Final Fantasy VI. Well, the gang meet up with Sweetheart, who's about to marry herself, but they basically tell her not to be an egotistical bitch, where they end up fighting a pretty difficult boss fight with her. After Captain Spaceboy comes in to tell her that he loves her, and they get married, and now he's Space Husband. After you jump down the hole caused by Space Husband, Omori and the others jump down where you read stories about your time with your friends. This was honestly really sweet stories to read, and it does a really good job at explaining Sunny's personality too, and how he's really shy but loves listening to other people, even showing he doesn't really like his violin lessons. In one particular empty bookshelf, Omori peeks in to see Basil and he looks troubled, and a mysterious key with a note on the back of a Polaroid saying, "Don't forget what's in the toy box." Back in the real world, Sunny wakes up to Kel, where Hiro is apparently coming home later today from college. Just as Sunny is helping by getting Hiro's favorite Hiro sandwiches and a cake from the store, Basil's caretaker comes in to tell Kel's mom that Basil hasn't come home yet. Kel and Sunny agree to go help find Basil, where he's being harassed again by Aubrey and her gang. It ends with Sunny falling in where we learned earlier in the library that he can't swim due to a fear of drowning. If you read all the books earlier, you find out it's because he accidentally fell into a lake from a spider nearby where Mari jumped in to save him. Just as he dreams of when his big sister used to protect him, he wakes up to see that Hiro rescued him. We see that out of everyone else who grew up and changed, Hiro actually remained pretty much the same. Though we do find out that for a whole year, Hiro was immensely depressed to the point where he probably went through his own mini Omori journey if you think about it. Yep, it's just like old times when Kel and Hiro decide to sleep over at Sunny's house for the night, where you fall asleep. That's when it's Omori time again, and you can't quite find anybody there. You go with Mari as you metaphorically sink into the deeper depths of Sunny's mind. Omori starts to remember things like a summer vacation house where his parents had, and specifically here, Mari's spirit sees that her brother will be able to work this out on his own, and wishes him goodbye as she passes on. As she says goodbye, Omori dives deeper down until he ends up in the ocean. It turns out your friends were taken by a literal loan shark where you fight him and leave. Although this portion was pretty funny in its puns and both bosses, this area was pretty good. I have to say that I don't really understand how this connects to the real world portion of the game. I get the ocean part, but I'm still a little lost on the whole loan shark thing. As you defeat the loan shark, Omori and his friends venture deeper into the ocean. You come across a little happy whale named Humphrey who invites you into his stomach. In here, you start to notice Omori's friends are starting to forget who Basil is. Likely as Sunny in the real world is starting to drift off in his dream world, and his personification of Omori is trying to protect him. Inside, we find out that Sweetheart is trying to make a perfect soulmate by asking 3 witches, all of whom fail her immediately. The game starts to take a strange, mellow shift here as you see the twisted experiments of the sisters. Humphrey also here can make copies of himself and talk to people inside his stomach. Well, Sweetheart decides to ditch them and not pay, which Humphrey literally eats her for, thus killing her. This causes the sisters to get furious that no one is paying them, so they attack Omori and his friends to make up for the money they lost. See, they don't need the money to buy anything, they need the money to feed Humphrey, as money in this dream world is clams. Since they don't have food, Humphrey also eats the sea witches and their furniture while proclaiming he's going to eat you next. This ends up being one of the most uncomfortable moments in the pink happy dream world. Why? I think it's the cramped space, music, and final phase of the fight. The animation of Humphrey swallowing you along with the uncomfortable droning music is just a yikes for me. When you defeat Humphrey, he throws you back up where you find the final 2 keys. Throughout the game, you're supposed to find the keys that play the game of Hangman to get a secret room that'll complete whichever route you're going for. When you swim through the long corridor, you're basically told that you still have time to change where Sunny is going. He made this dream world to fantastically relive his childhood memories, but he can do that in the real world too. Now that you're supposed to do here, once you've finally spelt out the words, "Welcome to the Black Space," is go to Basil's house, but if you're kind of dumb like me where you didn't have all the keys, you're allowed to backtrack to find the missing keys you need, which I am grateful for. Most games would have just given you a bad ending here instead of allowing you to go back. Entering Black Space turns this game into a true Yume Nikki game. You go through different doors trying to find keys to basically unlock a large corridor that'll take Omori deeper into his subconscious. This part is such a creepy fucking delight though, really diving into how fucked up Sunny's mind has become because of what he did. Yet what did Sunny do? Alas, Omori won't let us find out in the dream as he sits atop a throne of hands. Omori doesn't want to help Basil because Omori wants to stay in the dream instead of diving into the awful truth. This fear over his other self causes him to wake up where the final day begins. Kel and Hiro wake up with Sunny where they all decide to go talk to Aubrey and see if they can all make up. They call her out on bullying Basil, where she basically explains that she was extremely hurt that everyone ditched her after Mari died. She tried to still be friends with Basil, but she saw that Basil had crossed out Mari's face in the photo albums with a marker. Luckily, she was able to get it out, which I don't know how, but this made her furious at Basil for trying to erase Mari's memories instead of cherishing them. They all agree to go talk to Basil and later in the day do some final exploring around town. This is basically your last chance to help out some people or do an optional bonus mission, which I didn't do in the footage here because I had no idea about it until after my first gameplay recording. The 4 of them come to Basil's house, but he's not opening the door to his room. Now, Basil's parents are never around, so his only family is his grandfather, yet it is heavily implied his grandmother passed away that day, and it's sending Basil into a complete mental breakdown because of his own something, on top of losing his closest family member. Just before you go to Sunny's house though, you have a final hangout spot at Sunny's treehouse and visit Mari's grave for a final goodbye to the town. It's basically solidifying more that these kids aren't going to split up again once Sunny leaves. Their bond is strong all over again. Well, since Basil isn't coming out of his room, they all decide to spend the night there instead. Sunny falls asleep in Basil's living room and wakes up in white space instead with Omori staring at him. Deciding he is done hiding from the truth, Sunny smashes the light bulb in black space, which causes something to appear. Sunny faces a final fight of all his fears in order to break through and finally remember the truth about what happened to Mari. You see, the truth is that Sunny suppressed what happened due to trauma and made up Omori in his head to carry out this burden instead. We dive into a bunch of rooms in a Yume Nikki style again. You come across photos that tell you the truth of what really happened. All the while, Sunny is decaying while doing it. Symbolic of how all of this is literally destroying him from the inside, but he's still going to go ahead and do this. After we put all the photos together, we get the truth. As a very small kid, Sunny used to play the violin. Mari mentions in a flashback that Sunny had stopped playing years ago because he didn't like the pressure he was under. But she sees how much he loves watching her play the piano and how he seemed interested again in music, so his friends decide to gift him a violin for Christmas. Yet behind the scenes, Sunny was slowly growing disinterested again because Mari is a major perfectionist and is pretty harsh on Sunny in practicing because of it. I've heard some people say that Mari might have had OCD and that's why she got as allegedly harsh as she did, but that's not my call to make, so I'll let you guys debate about it in the comments instead. I just wanted to mention it as it's a theory I've been seeing people float around and discuss about when talking about Omori. Sunny and Mari were supposed to perform at a recital together and their friends were all super excited. Kel was getting a haircut, Hiro went clothes shopping, Aubrey was out with her dad, and Basil was staying the night over. Yet that evening, Sunny was getting too frustrated and it caused Sunny and Mari to argue at the top of the stairs. Sunny threw his violin in a fit of anger, which caused Mari to grab at him. In a fit of sibling anger, Sunny shoved her, which caused Mari to fall down the stairs. I've seen some people say it's unrealistic for a 15-year-old to die falling down the stairs, but remember the neck is pretty delicate, and she fell on top of a broken violin, which is pretty much the same as falling on wooden spikes. Not to mention the game describes that there was blood after she fell, so I'm pretty sure it was the violin that was the cause of death. Sunny sees that his sister isn't responsive and there's blood on the music sheets, and he carries her to bed thinking that maybe she passed out. But when morning comes and she's not waking up, he is terrified. Remember that Sunny is 12 years old and accidentally pushed his sister down the stairs. The poor kid is thinking that everyone is gonna think he intentionally murdered her when it was just an accident. They decide to take Mari's body to the backyard and stage a suicide. It's heavily implied when collecting the keys to the black space and throughout this final portion of the game that Sunny's parents knew about what happened and protected him, so they covered it up from the cops. With the truth revealed inside of Sunny, he wakes up to go confront Basil, who's having a complete mental breakdown, and starts to attack Sunny to protect him from something, all the while not realizing his own something is literally eating him alive. Sunny is absolutely terrified at this point, and so is Basil as they attack each other. This causes Sunny to get stressed out and completely lose all focus other than attacking Basil at this point. At one point, Basil even stabs Sunny in the eye. The two of them pass out and are taken to the hospital by the others, while Sunny finally checks that key in the toy box. Finding the same broken violin he threw down the stairs while remembering all his best memories. Things like a trip to the beach, playing cards in the treehouse, and listening to Mari play the piano as the melody echoes throughout the house. While there are bad memories, the important thing for Sunny to remember is the good times, as with anyone processing grief. Sure, something will always be painful and hurt like fucking hell, but at some point the good memories will outweigh the bad, and someday you can look back at them while it makes you stronger. Thanks to the happy memories of playing music with his sister, Sunny's violin that broke suddenly becomes whole again. And he remembers the words his friends told him in the real world to keep going. He's going to need all of this because now he has to fight his greatest enemy of all, himself. Playing the violin for the first time in years makes Sunny drop to his knees and sob, possibly grief overtaking him again, where Sunny now has to face Omori. Omori starts to say Sunny's anxieties right in his face in a brilliant way of facing your inner demons. Omori tells Sunny that he killed Mari on purpose, his friends hate him, he destroyed everyone's lives, how he should be the one to have died instead, and how he's a pathetic liar. In a way, Omori right now is any person facing their negative thoughts. The only reason Sunny is even able to fight against Omori is thanks to the support of his friends and their final words together. Yet Omori starts winning as Sunny can't calm down against what he's saying as he fears his words may be true. Instead of giving up and let Omori win by making Sunny lose all control and give up his life, Sunny persists and plays the violin. This time, his sister Mari is there in spirit. At long last, they get to perform the song they wanted to at the recital in the most emotional climax to a game I've seen in a while. We see just how close Sunny and Mari were and how great of a sister she was to him and everyone else. We see how they met Aubrey and Basil with all the adventures they went on together. It's these very beautiful memories of happiness that keep Sunny going. He doesn't need Omori anymore because his friends will protect him now instead of this hollow and empty version of himself that only wants to hide away everything. Sunny finally wakes up in the hospital, finally able to let it out and cry about what happened. The truth is revealed within himself, and he goes to his friends to finally tell them the truth about what happened. He has to tell them something, and the game ends. There is a bonus scene if you watered Basil's plants every time you go back to the dream world. It shows that the something for Sunny has now gone, and Basil's has shrunk. Basil still has a lot of internal problems, but he has friends that'll be there for him now. I thought that was really clever that Sunny's something faded away while Basil's repressed into him. Just like that, the game ends with a beautiful little song about how even though things can be bad, happy memories can keep you going. Now, I think this story is brilliant, and it handles the subject of grief, anxiety, fear, and depression perfectly. I just can't put into words how much I genuinely love this game, and I hope that at least me explaining it and gushing over some portions at least helps. The only thing I would have liked to see is everyone's reactions to finding out the truth, as we'll legitimately never know, especially when it's something that both Basil and Sunny were deeply afraid of. Then again, maybe that's the point. In the end, it doesn't matter what they think, but more the fact that everything is laid out on the table now. If you ask me, the only thing I'm solid on is Aubrey hitting either Sunny or Basil. Hero probably would show genuine anger for once before breaking down, and Kel would immediately be understanding because that's honestly the kind of kid Kel is. My personal headcanon, of course. Feel free to let me know your personal thoughts on how they'd react down below. Now, some people have said it's unrealistic to have a 4-year broken friendship suddenly reconnect like that, but remember these kids all knew each other from a pretty young age, so I think it's not totally unrealistic for childhood friends to quickly click and reconnect together. Hell, I've seen that a couple of times in my own personal life, actually. Overall, the story is beautifully told, wonderfully dark, filled to the brim with angst, and deeply emotional. Let me tell you that it's a story I haven't seen in an RPG Maker game for a very long time, and certainly not to this level of thought put into it. I think the last time was maybe Hoodie Strangeman series? Still, this story is genuinely amazing. The art here is just gorgeous. I love how adorable the character designs are. I guess it really contrasts from the really dark story. I love how everything is drawn in this pencil-like sketch, and Omori does a fantastic job at drawing really horrified expressions. I also love the animation too. I'm honestly not sure what this style is called, but I always called it the early Ed and Eddie style of animation, where the lines wiggle because the animator had to draw the scene multiple times, but not quite keeping track of where the outline was before, so it creates this wiggle effect. I really like it. When Sunny and Basil are scared, they also genuinely look terrified. The colors in the dream world are just gorgeous. I'm a huge fan of pastel colors and space themes, so the combination of that is just sublime. Like damn, the art and design and color direction is just gorgeous. I also love that Sunny and Omori are both portrayed in a more monochromatic style to show that he's an introvert who doesn't usually blend into his group of friends. They're all colorful because they're extroverted people, while he's not, so that's really an interesting way to look at it. The creepy stuff too is also really good. I love the weird realistic design to things that are supposed to represent something in the dream world, like the keyboard pieces for the Hangman game and the giant realistic hand. While everyone was comparing the art direction in the Hikikomori route to a game like Yume Nikki, I personally say it's more like Dot Flow. It's the same incredibly dark, dreary, monochromatic world with droning music like Silent Hill 2. It's really good and I genuinely love it. Overall, it's no wonder this game took so long when the art direction is just gorgeous. Not to mention that pretty much every single asset in this game was drawn by her, so it's completely understandable why this game took so long. Omori is an incredibly talented artist, and her artwork makes the game all the more enjoyable to look at. The gameplay is actually pretty unique. You have the standard effects like attack up and defense down, but the emotions in general is where you're going to focus on throughout the gameplay. Now, emotions are basically the rock, paper, scissors mechanic of this game. Happy makes your luck and speed go up, but you lose your hit rate. You're too excited and happy to focus, hence why your hit rate goes down. Anger makes your attack go up, but your defense go down, because when we're angry, we go in for the attack and we don't keep our walls up. Sadness makes your defense go up, but your speed go down. Much like how when we're sad, we put our guard up and mentally become stagnant. You also lose NP when you're hit to compensate for the lack of damage you're taking when sad. This could also mean a lack of motivation as well. Happy beats anger, anger beats sad, and sad beats happy. Much like real life, actually. In order to summon these emotions, you'll have to rely on you and your party members' abilities like a status effect in any other game to choose your emotion. Each one is also pretty fitting for their character. Kel is a very loud character, so he has a tendency to annoy people. The gameplay uses that by giving him abilities that annoy you or make you extremely angry. Omori is very cheerful and overly excited, so her abilities is to cheer people, which makes them happy. Omori is sad for obvious reasons, so he'll read a story of sad poems or have an ability to enact sadness on your team or the enemy. Omori, his friends, and your enemies will also escalate in emotions. As an example, angry can turn into enraged, which amplifies the ability at hand here. The same goes with your enemy too, so it's all a balance of controlling your emotions in order to win the battle. Which, hey, for a game all about emotional trauma and coming of age, I say that gameplay fits here beautifully. Though I would like to add that the friends can only escalate to rank 2 of emotions, while Omori can escalate to rank 3. I'm not sure why they don't get manic, miserable, or furious, but I guess it's because Omori is technically the only real person here, so his emotions will escalate more? I genuinely don't know. In battles, you can also do a thing called friendly follow-up. After a certain amount of attacks, your friends do a follow-up move like attack again or interact with another character for a bonus. Like if Hiro calls Omori, he'll gain health and attack again, which will actually save you juice, which is MP in this game. Juice is gained through actual drink items like juices and sodas. While regaining your HP is very childish and easy to make food like cakes, cookies, popcorn, ramen noodles, and stuff like that. There's also puzzle elements. You can switch who the leader of the party is, as each character has their own way of combating obstacles on the map. Aubrey can lift and smash heavy objects, Kel can throw from a ledge area, Hiro is charismatic so prices go down at shops, and Omori can cut smaller obstacles like webs and traffic cones. This all culminates in really fun and uniquely challenging gameplay. The gameplay itself is also really damn long, so that's a huge bonus here. Usually RPG Maker games are pretty short, but thanks to this game having 2 very lengthy routes you can take along with bonus endings, this pretty much makes the game pretty long and incentive to play again. Thanks to the emotion chart, you can also spice up gameplay every time. Maybe you want to see if you can beat the game using only the happy emotion. The possibilities here are actually pretty large. Overall, the gameplay is extremely fun. Even though everything I said sounds difficult on paper, it's actually not that hard. It's actually pretty easy once you get an understanding of the emotion wheel. I haven't loved a game like this in a very long time. The characters' art, music, story, gameplay, and so much more makes this game a genuine masterpiece for me. Considering the time we're in now, it's an extremely important game too. People are slowly able to come out from the current world events we're in, and I think this game was needed more than ever to help people process that. This game also hit me pretty hard in a lot of ways, many of which I'm not going to go into, but it hit me. Clearly from the fact that I made a custom sprite for this video specifically, you can tell how much I love this game. I mean, I don't put this kind of detail into videos normally. And not to mention how long this video is, I guess there's a lot to unpack here. If you want a true Yume successor that shows a hikikomori can open the door and break free from their shut-in ways, I highly recommend Omori. This is easily now in my top favorite games of all time, which is saying something since I don't say it lightly, considering one of my favorite games of all time is Silent Hill 2. I hope you guys did enjoy the video though. Let me know down below what you think. Do you love Omori? Is it a good RPG? Let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. And if any older new subs would like to help support the channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who would like to help with video ideas or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, then I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!